So I'm here and I've got the opportunity to talk to my friend Cameron Cassidy, who's a realtor here in our local market, Durham region, as well as he's a real estate investor. So we're going to be talking everything real estate investor, talk mindset, talk tactics, talk about a little bit of his backstory of how he got in, and let's get into it. Of you and your family, like what's the worst that's going to happen? Why are you so afraid of showing them?
Because people are trying to put like their business image out there.
Yeah,
right. They're trying to put their corporate.
Yeah, and that's what I find is if it's too corporate, then you're not really connecting with anybody.
Totally.
Because at the end of the day, like these platforms are for human beings, and if you're not going to be a human being on the platform, then no one's going to really.
And that's where I think the podcasts have been good, because when I see someone being interviewed on a podcast as opposed to like their promotional video, they're totally different, right? The promotional video has to be professional, and here's what I'm selling, and here's my value pitch, and here's my why and stuff. Where like the podcast is just them being like, no, I went for a run this morning, and I don't know, like people want to know that behind the scenes stuff.
That's true.
Opposed to like
Well, it's even like that short video product that, we do with you and we do with other people. I try and tell them, like a lot of people.
Closer?
I try and tell a lot of people, they'll come in, they'll basically say like, okay, I've got $4,000 for promo video. And I'm like, I talk them out of doing the promo video. Yeah. Because it's one message, it's too commercialized, it's too salesy.
Yep.
I'm like, honestly, like you can create a bunch more videos this way and have multiple messages.
Yep.
Right, I was like, why don't you do it like this? But they were so stuck on the promo video. But some people I am pretty successful, and I kind of talk them out of. Yeah. Really, it's more fun for us to make the promo video because it's more creative. Yeah. But I'm always trying to put myself in that person's shoes. And it's like, if I had $4,000 to spend on the video, where would I spend it? I wouldn't be doing promo videos, that's for sure.
No,
That's why we don't have a promo video.
No, you try to get personal, you try to, but
it's...
Yeah, I don't know. The business side of it is the marketing side of it is obviously your specialty, right? But I think people trying to convince them to, get with the times, for lack of better terms. Well,
you see it when you do your presentation now, like at the brokerage, like how many people they're kind of behind the times.
Oh, so I did mine in Newmarket, or not Newmarket, Richmond Hill.
Okay.
Oh,
how'd it go?
It was bad. It was just people were, it's not bad. It was just the people there were so old school and so, closed-minded about it.
Right.
And I think.
What are they thinking? Shocking. Are they thinking like, oh, this is for younger people to do?
Yeah, or they think it's too much work, or they don't see where they're going to get the return.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone wants to know like how is this going to turn into clients? How is this going to turn into business?
Yeah.
When you hand out 20 business cards, I guess you feel better about that.
Yeah,
when
like
you door knock.
Yeah, like how do you know? How do you know you're going to get the business when you door knock? How do you know you're going to get the business when you go to a network?
I don't know. I think they feel like it's more proactive, but I also think it's their insecurities, right, of putting themselves out there. Or
I think 100% you just nailed it. Like it's a lot of people that don't want to put themselves out there, don't want to put themselves on the line publicly.
Maybe
to me it makes sense. Make a little 1-minute video, 2-minute video, and you have 200 people see it within minutes.
Yeah, people are just afraid of what they're going to say though, how they look, how their image is going to be. Portrayed. I think. I don't know. It's perplexing. I think about it more and more now, right? But even working with Simone and Melissa, I'm kind of like, we'll look at a video and they don't want to post it, right? Or they don't want to. They're like, oh, what about this? Or my hair's messy.
Yeah, who cares?
Or I didn't shave that day. Yeah. Or I didn't. Like everyone's trying to look
exactly, and
as polished as they can.
So that's what I was telling you about. If you have the abundance mindset, if you know that you're sitting on a bank of content. That video, like if you feel insecure about that one video, just post another one right after it then.
Yeah.
Right? Like people don't get hung up on your strands of hair that are flying to the side in that one video. Like they're not even thinking about you after. They're on to the next piece of content.
Yeah.
It's only you that like, you as a person that will think that you matter that much to other people. They got their own shit that they're worrying about, not you.
Yeah, totally.
Right? But you're right. Like other people, we've shot like 40 videos for someone and they're like, oh, well, I said too much in like these 10 and I didn't like how my tie was like, not up as high as it should have been or whatever it is. And we're like, crazy. You're not going to post the video because of those reasons? And they're like, yeah,
yet they'll go to like a listing appointment with that same flaw.
Yeah.
But then like only their,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just self-conscious.
Yeah, it's definitely like a mindset thing.
Yeah.
But
I find it's practice though, right? Like once you get going and once you get the more time you spend in front of a camera or in front of a mic like this. This is my first time having a mic.
Yeah.
Joe's probably gonna have to tell me 5 more times to
it's all right.
speak closer. But it's again, I'm not used to this. I'm not
But you're right, it's just practice becomes second nature.
Yep.
I mean, I spoke at a brokerage like 3 weeks ago, and I was telling them, like, honestly, like if you're that insecure, if you're that shy, or if you need baby steps, then like just put your phone, like lean it up against the computer screen or put something on your desk, a book or whatever, and don't even turn it on, but just like say something to it, like work and then just say something to it. And then the next day, turn it on and then say something to it and then record yourself, but don't post anything, just record it. And then after that, just maybe start talking to your parents, your brother, or whatever it is on Skype or FaceTime or something. Just so you can see yourself, so you can hear your echo back. Because a lot of people don't really like hearing their own voice once they start hearing it.
Totally.
And I was like, and then just do that a bunch of times and then record maybe 10 videos, 10 tip videos, 10 videos about yourself or whatever it is. And then post one when you're happy. But if it takes you a month to warm up, I was like, at least you're working towards something. Yep. Everyone in the room was like, no one's doing any sort of video marketing. No one's really evolving their video, their marketing. Yeah. And I was like, you guys are all behind the times. Like people have been doing this video thing for the last 5 years and it's only getting more and more.
Yeah, totally.
And you're not like, because you're not evolving your business, you're going to be out of business. And they're like, kind of looking at they were looking at me like, oh shit, like you said something like meaningful, like you were telling the truth and we all feel like we need to do this. But I'm like, at the very end, I'm like, there's only going to be one person in this room that actually does anything about it. That's a sad thing.
Well, and I mean, businesses fail all the time, right? And people recognize that. But I feel like most business owners aren't actual business owners. Like they didn't go to school to be a business owner. They got into baking pies and they like baking pies. So they opened
like the E-Myth, right?
Yeah, and that's it, right? That's exactly where I get it from. Or even like real estate agents who have that like 9-to-5 mentality or aren't used to, they're now doing sales, which is different, but they don't realize they own a business and part of business is marketing.
Right.
And if you don't market.
Yeah. And you've said that before too, like they're afraid to invest in their business.
But they just don't know about it though either, right? Like gyms are a good example, right? Like I know, when Kev and I started our gym, we were 21, we weren't business people. We didn't know anything about anything to do with business, all aspects. We were focused on working out and making people better at working out, and that's it. Right. Same with construction guys, same with all these businesses. And I think then you ask them to go on camera. Yeah. It's tough. Right? I think it's tough, but as you said, times are changing. You gotta.
Well, that's where I was talking to. Like, it's funny that you said you'd be interested in hearing that podcast with Ben, but that's where I see he separates himself from everybody else, like in the industry.
I don't know that. I only see Ben's. I see the stuff that you're posting for him. And he's posting. Yeah, they're nice, polished images. I work with contractors, but for some reason I haven't reached out to him. I don't know why, but I'm even sitting there thinking of it. I'm going like, I don't know. Like most of the time you work with people that you get introduced to, or you get to know a little bit, or there's you have that connection. I think with video or podcasting like this, you can do a little bit more. Yeah.
Because he was saying like he got into it because he was running with like, I guess his brother at the time, or not brother at the time, his brother. But at the time it was a landscaping company, and he was like looking at stuff like, while everyone's shirtless and people are, smoking butts, the job site's messy, everyone's swearing kind of thing. So you looked at like basically like not revolutionizing, but like this is what's in the industry. If we just clean up our act a little bit more professional, have a little bit more like processes and policies and procedures and stuff like that, we can do. So that's what he did. And you can look at like, I got some construction or contracting guys that will reach out and stuff, and you'll just, it's night and day.
Oh, totally.
Like these guys have a protocol. This is a process. Yeah. You're writing, a quote on a napkin. They have like this whole thing to even see if they're treating the whole thing as a relationship to even see if you're the right fit for them.
Do they have a physical brick and mortar building? Yeah. Yeah. See, I look at that and I'll be honest, I get like, I don't know if that's a good business decision,
Yeah.
right? Because I go, that's going to cost money, and then ultimately that money's going to be passed down.
Yep.
To the that's why they may be 25% higher, right?
Sure, yeah, sure. But then it allows them, if they weren't doing that, so because they're doing that, they've got like 5 different crews out at any given time, any given day, they've got 5 crews, and then they have an office manager, someone to take on the phone calls, and they have a project manager, someone to like look at the estimates and stuff, and
so
manage
they can
the
handle
team,
more,
and then him. So if you didn't have that office, where would those people? How would you have that culture if everyone's doing that from home remotely in a
totally.
truck?
Yeah,
then you're really no different than the other people.
Yeah.
So it's like anything, and that's what they said. Like they're basically they're 25% higher because they have that extra overhead. But it also, what does that overhead bring? It means that you have a report at the end of every day given to the clients of what happened in your home and where they're at in terms of the process. You can change things on the fly. You don't. If they run out of materials, it's not the guy that's actually working on the project that goes to Home Depot. It's someone else. So that person's not. Person's not off the tools. Because I mean, you look at, like, I see it all the time, like in that business owners group, when people say that they need a contractor, the person like posts and says, I need a contractor. Someone can come out and estimate my I need a basement getting finished. I need to finish my basement. And then they'll like post like a week after and say, yeah, all those people that were referred and no one contacted the person. No one showed up.
Or if they did show up, they didn't give a quote.
Yeah.
They didn't.
And it's not because they don't care enough for the business or whatever. The person's swinging the hammer all day. They just don't even have time. They're in a crawl space. They can't answer their phone. It's not because
they're working in their business too much instead of managing it or
exactly. So that's the big thing that I see like in that world, where I can see how they've just totally changed. See,
it's such to me, like, I'm in it now with my flip and stuff, and it's crazy because I look at it too, right? How unprofessional they are and how unorganized, but you could see how that's directly going to relate to the cost. And, that's why I'd love to sit down with Ben and kind of pick his brain about it.
Yeah, because there's got,
but he has more of an entrepreneurial mindset now.
Yes.
After running the business for X amount of years.
For sure.
He knows what.
Yeah. And that's the type of stuff that I'd love to pull out, because I look at him, you and him as wiser and more of a mentor kind of thing, seeing you guys operate your business. Any
business owner that has lasted more than 5 years has changed and learned a ton about business, right?
Sure.
Or they've had to close.
Yeah, exactly.
I think anyone who's been in it or had to, do it. I know I saw Cork and Bean was for sale too. They're trying to sell.
They're trying to sell these. They're trying to franchise, basically. Like, I mean, they have franchise. They've got one in Peterborough as well.
Oh, so they're trying to sell franchises.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So I've helped them be trying to basically build that brand to franchise it. Same kind of similar thing where they want to buy the property, renovate it, fix it up, kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. Same thing.
Yeah. No, smart.
Right. So they just can't do that, expand to 5 different places if they're running that one there, right?
Yeah,
so then you gotta get someone that looks at it as a great opportunity, right?
Yep.
Oh, everything's already done for me. I come in,
turnkey business,
great, turnkey, and then now you're paying them rent and it's their building.
And they
Why
own
not?
the building,
And then you move on and you do the same thing to another
because
person.
they're agents too, aren't they? Or
one guy, Lorne Scanlon, he's
that's who I know,
he's been in real estate for a long time and was very successful. So
that's why he knows the method.
No, yeah. It's kind of like the same sort of thing with your real estate. Like, it's again like the product, it's a procedure, strategy, all that stuff, right?
But owning the building, and I know, like, even with my business partner at CrossFit Oshawa there, we're trying to figure out a way to buy a building, because I think, in business, it's the smartest thing you could be doing.
Yeah.
Is running your business in an actual asset that can appreciate, I think.
Right. So yeah, I don't mean, like, we'll kind of get into it. I don't know if we're probably not gonna post the long format kind of thing, so don't worry about like the big intro. I'll put like a name bar. But why don't you let's go over long format, like timeline of how you got into real estate investing.
Yeah, real estate investing.
Yeah.
Specifically, I got my license with kind of the mindset of wanting to invest or be an investor. So for me, it's always been in the back of my mind. When I opened up the gym, we were 21. Even then, I had that kind of investor mindset. I've always thought about, owning my own businesses and, learning. But, when you're young, you don't have the money, right? You're like, how do people have 10 properties? How do they, how have they built that portfolio up? And most people get, like me, intimidated on, how do you get 10 properties? How do you get to that level when, you're looking at each property being $400,000 or $500,000?
Sure.
It just seems so massive. So I've had that mindset. So when I, even with the gym, we were looking at leases and buildings and stuff, but then got my license and, we bought our primary residence, me and my wife, and I knew I wanted a bungalow. Like I didn't know even how to legalize or what legal to, I didn't even know any of that, but I knew I wanted something with a side entrance.
So like, we'll back up. Like where did you get that entrepreneurial mindset?
I don't know.
Like, did you see like it was your parents?
Yeah, I mean, my mom kind of always had that. My mom owns a bunch of different properties. She owns she had a restaurant. She has that bug in her. My dad was a firefighter, so he was very like, by the book, safe, get a job with a pension kind of thing. Where my mom was always doing different things. She started girls hockey in Whitby, actually.
Okay.
They didn't have it, so she was one of the first people to get that going.
Nice.
So yeah, I kind of grew up with her, I guess, seeing her, what she was doing. So I don't know where, obviously it rubbed off on me.
Yeah.
And
then in school, were you into like any sort of like business books and entrepreneur books?
I don't know. Not really.
I mean, it's like even, like we're around the same age, like it's the same sort of time where like, it's not like that being an entrepreneur wasn't as cool at that time as it is now. Now everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, and it's like with social media, people think it's flashy and stuff, and because people are only showing like the highlight reel, but they're not showing like, the fact that you got like, little to no friends, and that you spend Friday nights actually working on your business and the weekends, and you got all these sacrifices. Whereas like I know like before, like when we were in school, like, that's when social media just started coming out. Like it was at the end of us getting out of school.
Yeah. And
so where did that come from? Like if it wasn't from...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. I don't know. There wasn't one book or one, moment. I know people always have this, they say they have this aha moment.
Yeah.
But to me, I think it's just, I know we've talked about that abundance and growth mindset.
Yeah.
Like, having that and taking risks and chance. And this may sound weird, but I used to play quite a bit of poker and love poker and loved the psychology of it and the risk taking and the calculated risk and and even gambling like blackjack and things like that. It sounds gambling's always and poker's always like a degenerate thing, like if you're a gambler, but to me there's a lot to learn in it business wise, right? Where if you're learning to lose, like when you lose money, that's hard for people, right?
Sure.
And some people just can't take that. They're like, whoa, what, but if you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to get into business, you better be ready to lose money.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And there's going to be times when, you don't know where that next move is. And, I don't know. So I feel like I did learn a lot, and I used to read like poker books, and it's a lot of that psychology.
And were you good?
I think so. You don't, I never took it too far just because of, money and time, time more specifically, right? Poker, you have to sit there for like 8 hours, but even in university, but then right out of university, I opened a business, right?
Sure.
And, my dad specifically thought I was crazy, right? He was like, that's, I was working for Bell Canada.
And that was the time, was the gym, that was the first business, or was there something?
No, that was the first business.
Did you have like a paper route or anything that was small?
Yeah,
like
paper
cut
route
grass
actually.
or anything before?
I did have
lemonade
a
stand.
No, I don't think lemonade stand. Yeah, I'm trying to.
It's funny, all those things, like, I wouldn't say they don't exist. We just don't see it as much now. Now, I mean, you get a lot of younger kids, and they're like, I'm going to try and like build an Instagram, account, like as a featured account. I'm going to build it, and I'll try and flip it.
Yeah.
Whereas like, at the time it'd be like a paper route for us, or cutting people's grass and trying to say like, okay, let me cut, neighborhoods lawns and charge $20 kind of thing. Yeah. Those type of, or baseball cards or hockey cards at the time. Now they're kind of coming back into
trading
style.
pogs and marbles and stuff. I did a lot of that.
Yeah.
So I think maybe those kind of things too.
Those are like almost like it's like the gateway drug.
Yeah, like
thing, right?
if you like that stuff, if you like, trading and negotiating and selling and they're all little characteristics of being an entrepreneur. So maybe it is more. Maybe I just haven't thought about it deep enough as to, where it came from. But I've always had that, in the back of my mind of wanting to be successful or wanting to, do more than just, get a $60K a year job. And, be safe. So,
and do you think that it's something that can be learned? Like, do you think that like being an entrepreneur is very much you're born with it? Or do you think it's like something that, you can read a bunch of books and educate yourself?
You know what?
It's something
I do think you need to have it genetically into you. I do think certain people are, I don't know if it was the way they're raised or it is genetics. That's debatable. But to me, I don't know. And I think some people say you can learn it, but I think it would take years to change the way your mind is. And, I think maybe at one point I would be naive and say, yeah, you can learn it. But the more I'm around different people, and I can instantly tell if they have that entrepreneur bug or mindset, or if they're more conservative. My wife's a good example. She is not entrepreneur at all, and she's actually going back to mat leave, or finishing her mat leave in January, and we've been discussing. I'm obviously trying to push her to see her talent and be like, oh, like you're so talented, you could start your own business and do so well.
Right.
But she just
and it's fear. Is it fear that's the
I don't know. But she just doesn't have the drive to want to, like she loves the creative aspect of it. She loves, design. Yeah. She loves doing that kind of stuff, and her company's going to allow her to do that. She likes her company she works for. She likes the people she's working with. And I don't know, maybe she's not, like, to me, I'm a little bit driven by money too, right? I think every entrepreneur has that, that drive for not necessarily money, but freedom and
it might be what money could do for you.
Yeah, what money can do for you. Like I know money. People always say money is like a negative, degenerate thing too. If you want to be rich, you're taking from people or things like that. But to me, some people really have that motivation to accumulate and get things in life that can help them, have more freedom or more time or whatever it is for them. It's kind of individual, but
cool. So then, so you're 21 at the time, and then you started the gym.
Yep.
And then now, how did that lead into now you're into real estate?
Into real estate, I don't know. At some point, I just was looking into my license, and getting it, and I kind of honestly, when I started learning, like taking the real estate courses, I didn't know if I'd even do them all. I kind of wanted to, I just enjoyed reading the books. It was, the barrier for entry was so easy that you could do it part-time and kind of, read. I literally, the first two courses, they just mailed out a textbook. You can read the textbook, which I enjoy doing anyway, and took the exam and was like, passed. Okay, cool. I did the next one, got my license. Even when I got my license, I was like, yeah, maybe I'll use it. Like it was, I didn't wake up and be like, I'm going to be an agent. I'm going to, conquer the world. I'm going to, I was committed to, growing the gym and being a gym owner.
Right.
That was my passion. I loved it. I still love it, but things, have changed over the years. And then getting my license, I naturally right away went to investment meetups. I hooked up with investor-focused realtor. Yeah. Just started learning all about investment real estate, and through learning, like at this point, we've owned the gym for 6-7 years, and I mean it's been a roller coaster, right? And it's there's lots of good moments, but lots of behind the scenes bad moments where you're sitting there going like, okay, where's this gonna go to next?
Well, I think it's like that for every business. It's just a matter of how much people are talking about it, how much people are showing about it.
Nobody is though. Like, no businesses.
No one's like, hey, well, money's tight this time, or shit, we just lost 15 of our best clients, or we miscalculated where we're gonna put in new equipment or whatever it is, and now you're feeling it. No one's really talking about that type of stuff.
No business talks about that. No one talks about their failures.
Yeah.
You only ever see the successes, the positive,
the highlight reel,
or it just goes away, right?
Yeah.
And something goes away, and you're kind of like, oh, why did and you don't really know the behind the. You can assume or guess that, but and I think real estate investing is no different either. And getting into that, it there's always troubles. There's always, even now, dealing with tenants, dealing with contractors. Is always ongoing struggles. And I think, most people on Instagram now are posting about their successful portfolio and this and that, but you're not really seeing the issues with tenants not paying on time, and, going to the LTB, and, dealing with contractors not showing up, or, doing this and that. And I mean, it's it's no different. All business is the same. It's just, different challenges within that business.
Right. Yeah. So you had the gym at the time, and then now you're getting into, your first home. Was that when you first started? Did you look at that?
So then me and my wife, we bought our house. We bought a bungalow really close to the gym. It was 2.2 kilometers from the gym. I made sure, I was trying to keep my expenses down, trying to be, smart from that perspective. I drove a beater car. Yeah. Was trying to save up money. We saved up money. I remember we put down $12,500. So me and my wife each had $6,000. And at the time, that was like our life savings. That was like, oh my God, how are we gonna, how is this gonna work? Even paying our bills, our monthly mortgage. I remember like I was at the gym not making much money, figuring out how is this gonna work. And then, we sat on the house for 5 years, did nothing. We put 5% down, sat on the house for 5 years. It was a single family house, bungalow. We used the basement, had like a little bar. We had parties and loved, just treated it as a house and not really thought about the wealth that we were building.
Right.
And then at some point during that time, I was getting my license, and then learning about investing, and then realized, okay, wow, I can legalize this, place. I could put a legal 2 unit in here.
And was that through going to those meetups that you're?
Yeah, and it was just learning. Yeah, so it was, Durham REI is a big one I go to.
Yeah.
That one hooked me up with different investors. I was working with an investor realtor in Durham, Mike Dominguez. So he taught me a lot about, all the little nuances of the bylaws and looking at finances. And then, you just kind of, your circle changes. The people that you're hanging out with changes, right? You're getting around people that are all talking about the same problem. So then as an agent, I was also starting to work with investors who were buying investment properties and converting. So I was on the ground seeing and learning a lot of this, which, I think really obviously helped me to take action and convince my wife to do this, right? And I'm a big believer of getting education first. A lot of people say like just do stuff, make mistakes, but I don't know, that never seems smart to me. I feel like there's always ways to learn if you want to do something, that's scary like real estate investing. Learn until you'll get to a point where you go, I feel confident about this and let's do this. I've, analyzed every possible bad situation 30 times over in my head. Talk to this person, and then, and you just things are still going to come up. You're still going to make mistakes, but I still think there's enough education out there nowadays, especially with, ways to make yourself ready. And that's what I was doing, but kind of, the harder route, but hooking up with people or going to meetups or going to, different ways to feel comfortable, and say, yes, this is the right decision, because there's so many people steering you in different directions, right? Like I remember I was putting my money into an IG investment portfolio, paying every month and thinking that was me investing at the time, right? But, and a lot of this stuff, unfortunately, isn't out there freely. You do have to kind of dig around a bit. It's out there. It's just you have to find it and then move forward. So, the market had gone up at that point. We refinanced, pulled out money, put the basement apartment in, and then put a tenant in our basement. So we were living upstairs. We had a tenant in our basement for, I think, a year and a half. And then we moved out and bought.
And that was all good with you guys were married at the time?
I don't think we were married yet, but we were maybe engaged or married shortly after that kind of thing.
But that was okay having someone live, because I'm sure that's probably not cool with a lot of.
No, my wife was against it. My wife was like, "No, we're not doing this." And I remember, when we first bought the house, that was kind of in the back of my mind. Is do this, but it took me years to convince her. But then the tenant was paying $1,400 a month. And so I let her collect the money. So I said, go ahead, you collect the money.
Smart.
And I'll do all the dirty work. You collect the money. And she was like, whoa, this is pretty cool. Like, that we just got paid and, we're not really doing anything. We're just collecting $1,400 a month now. And our mortgage payment, it still is $1,181 on the property. So that was covering our mortgage and a good portion of our property taxes. And, we were, still young. I don't think we were married yet, and we basically didn't have a mortgage, so we, had a lot less expenses. And then right away it took off it was such a big relief from just that one property. And then, so we moved into our next primary residence that we still live in now. And now we rent out both upper and lower, and we still make, now we make profit. So now we make about $1,600 a month profit.
Nice.
Off that one. And we can refi. I'm actually in the process right now of pulling some money out, more money out of that, which kind of seems crazy. We pulled the $70K out for the reno. It still makes us money. It's still being paid down. And I actually, as of I think yesterday, pulled out another $100K from that property, that same property that we put $12,000
the first property.
Down on. Yeah.
Wow.
So we've put a base, we've, all from not
just
our own
because
money.
it's appreciated.
Yeah. And paid down. And the mortgage has been paid down for 5, 6, 7 years now. So, I mean, from the one property, the amount of, leverage that we've gained is mind boggling. And I mean, now I'm thinking on a bigger scale, and I'm like, if you have 5, 6, 7 properties you're holding for 7, 8 years, you can't even fathom, the advantages that you're going to have after 7 years of holding 7 properties. And it sounds cuckoo, but I've seen, when you see it firsthand.
Yeah, when you see it,
and again, my wife was against it. She was not like, she's like, no, like we can't have, what if they, all the worst case scenarios. What if they rob us?
Some real estate tycoon now.
Yeah, I don't know. She's still conservative, but I still have to work on it. But I mean, she's happy now that there's less pressure financially, right? And I know lots of young people that are like, don't even know where to start or how do you get moving. I'm like, put 5% down, move into a house. That's all you can do. Move into a house that has the potential to have a higher and best use.
Yeah.
Meaning.
And that's you're giving advice to anyone that way, or just like a first time investor?
Anybody.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's crazy to not buy something that could have a higher and best use and an income potential if even if you don't see it now, right? Like, even if you're like, Cam, this is not going to happen for a year, 2 years, 3 years. I'm like, don't worry, things change over the years. I remember when we bought our first house, we were, there was no way I had money. I had no money in my bank. We were living paycheck to paycheck, and it just kind of grows, and you just take it one step at a time. And a lot of people are, promoting these get rich quick schemes, or, do this and you get 4 houses in 4 years and all this. And I to me, that's just, not smart, not realistic either. Right. And I think the message is, slow. It has to be slow and steady in every decision you make. And I highlight the 2.2 kilometers from the gym. Yeah. Because that was another big thing, right? Is I wanted to reduce my expenses. Like, people that, drive, they're always okay with the 30 or 40 minute drive. So they buy a house that's cheaper 40 minutes away from where they work to get a bigger house. Right. When it's like, okay, cool. Now you have a bigger house, but now your expenses, your car's going to get beat down. You're paying more gas. You're increasing your expenses for that short-term gratification, where everything to me is always about, holding off that short-term gratification for as long as you can. Yeah. And this is the rich dad, poor dad philosophy,
that's
right?
Investor mindset right there.
It is, right? And it's make sacrifices now, invest in assets that give you an opportunity or a chance for them to grow, so that you can enjoy them later on in life. And
what do you think the norm is doing?
The norm is just looking at, what they need now and keeping up with the Joneses and saying, oh, wow, like, I need a perfect house. I need a beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-story, 2-car garage house right now. Yeah. I make $80K a year. I'm set for life. Yeah. Nothing can happen. Yeah. I can't lose my job. I can't,
Probably even before that, there's probably a lot of people that are dumping their money into a sweet car. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Just collecting, I'll tell you this story. Yeah. And I'll tell you this story. I love this because I started working in grade 9. I got a job at Swiss Chalet, which was kind of, none of my friends were working, right? But I wanted to work, and I wanted to save up for a car. And so I worked grade 9. I worked 4 or 5 days a week, in high school, right? Like right out of high school. Got my license grade 10, had saved up $7,200 and bought my car, and like, I was proud of that. And at the time, thought that was an asset. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I look back at it now, I go, wow, dumb decision.
Like, just because we don't know what actually is an asset and a liability at the time.
No, exactly.
It's an asset when you're the only one driving around, high school with the car.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, I've gotten ahead. I've gotten ahead. I got a car now. This will last me for 30 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't think about how long it's actually going to last for you, or that it's depreciating.
It's probably our first chance of like getting some freedom, right? Where like mom and dad doesn't really drive you around.
Phone.
And, at that point you're just like, well, hey, this is my first chance of actually freedom. I'm not dependency. You're not dependent on someone.
Yep.
Right. And that's like the only thing that really goes through, people's minds at that time, I bet.
Yeah. But, I don't know why I always think about those, but like those decisions to me, it's kind of going back to just when people buy, even when people are thinking about buying or leasing, or even people are thinking about, which job they're going to take, or all those decisions to me are investor. Like, do you have an investor mindset, or are you, just thinking about this winter or, your next year, and I mean, every decision that you make financially, every major purchase has such a ripple effect.
Mm-hmm.
And if you
could even be just like smaller purchases, it doesn't even have to be a major purchase. Totally. Right? Like cup of coffee, but if you're someone that's drinking 3 cups of coffee at Starbucks every day, now you're dishing out, $5 to $7 in coffee every single day. That adds up every month, every year.
And I mean, I look at it 2 ways. I look at it, you can either choose to, be frugal and tighten up your spending, or you better go get a second job, or you better make more money, or you better find a business or an opportunity where you can afford that, $4 cup of coffee every day. Because I'm of the mindset, like I blow money. I spend money sometimes, too frivolously. Like I eat out a lot. Like you can ask my wife anytime. If we want to go for dinner, I'm like, I'm in, right?
Yeah.
I love going out for dinner. I love eating good food and, drinking good wine and things like that. But I also know then I better make more money. I better find ways to make more money. So I think you can go either way and get ahead.
And do you find that that's you kind of already answered the question, like that's your kind of...
That's just who I am.
That's
right?
who you are.
That's who I am personally, right? Like I don't,
Like do you see them as two sides of the coin? There's people that will do the, live frugal and try and save their way to getting like that first down payment, or you find that there's people that are like they'll just keep on just find more ways to make more streams of income to get there.
I do think there's two. I know a guy who plays on my hockey team is a teacher, so he's got like a steady job, but he's very frugal. He actually, after the hockey games, collects all of our beer cans. So if we have like a beer after the game, he brings home. He'll collect them all.
We're not allowed to put them in there. 10 cents a can?
Yeah, every game. You know, and it's hilarious. Yeah. And but he's got like a steady, teacher salary job. He has no opportunity to make more money.
Right.
But he's going to get ahead by saving and anytime after we'll go out for wings or something, like I'll order whatever and have some fries left over and he'll eat them. Yeah. And just without shame. Yeah. Like literally he wouldn't even care hearing me tell this. He'd be like, yep. Yeah. But he's smart.
There's people that are proud of it, right?
He is proud of it. And I love it. I'm like, man, that's smart. Like where I'm kind of the opposite. Sure. But I have 4 jobs. Yeah. I'm working a ton and I'm trying to, have, money coming in so that it doesn't, that I don't have to worry about that stuff. And that's my personal drive. I love being able to go to a restaurant and just don't even look at the prices. Yeah, yeah. What do you want? What do you want to drink? Yeah. To me, that is like, that's what drives me. Sure. Or taking out my wife and she's sitting there going, I'm like, I don't care. Order whatever you want. It really doesn't matter where, I love having that freedom. Yeah.
Work hard, play hard.
Yeah, work hard, play hard, and that's exactly my whole philosophy. In life,
I mean, if you can't enjoy life too, I mean, what's the point of working hard if you're not enjoying things along the way?
Exactly right. But I could see both sides of the coin, right? To answer your question, I think I think you have to do one or the other. If you don't do one or the other, you're not getting ahead. You're living paycheck to paycheck. And hopefully you have a really good pension and retirement in place. Like my dad, even talking to him, if I had a city job. Like he was a firefighter. He's got set for life with a great pension, great benefits. Yeah. I don't know if I would, maybe I would.
And being a firefighter, you're working like maybe 15 or 20 days of the month.
7 shifts a month. 7 24-hour shifts a month. The Toronto firefighter works.
That leaves you can have a full another part,
and a lot of them do.
Full-time job.
A lot of them do, right? So, I mean, I guess it really does depend on your personality, but someone like my dad is certainly not going to have issues in 5 years. Yeah. Where for me, at 21 opening a gym, I was like, and a couple times when we're worried about the gym succeeding or what's going to happen, or I'm like, what happens if this does go down? Yeah. then what? Or even if it is successful, what is my retirement?
Sure.
You have nothing, right? So I think it depends on each person's scenario or situation. If they have a good job or they get into something that, sets them up, and they're happy. I mean, I think right now, like you said, there's too many people about the raw, everybody be an entrepreneur. It's the greatest thing ever. When it's like, it's not. It's not. I mean, there's tons of negatives of being an entrepreneur. And I think, it's definitely not for everybody. And there's certainly people that are enjoying life, getting a good paycheck, who have kind of all those question marks answered. But
yeah. So the time when you had that first property, did you look at it? Was one of your reasons for getting it and then legalizing it, reno the basement, and then?
Yeah, I wasn't thinking like an investor.
Were you thinking about?
I was because I knew I wanted the bungalow.
Yeah,
but
were you thinking that's like a retirement for you? Like, because at the time you're self-employed, you had a gym. Were you thinking, well,
no.
should I need
I was trying to get in my dad's house. I was living with my dad. I was just trying to get out. He was starting to charge me rent.
Okay,
and so I was like, damn, Dad. Like, so I'm like, I might as well buy a house. And and he kind of like pushed me out of it, thankfully, right? And I remember me and my dad were living together, and so I was just thinking of shelter, and I wasn't really thinking, I'm an investor, and in 7 years I'm going to legalize this. Even though I did want, I remember when we were looking for houses, I did want a bungalow because I did want to have the ability to put a basement apartment in. We actually put in a couple offers at houses that had illegal basement apartments in them, but even Randy was like, she didn't like that. She was like, I want the space, right? And so the house that we bought had like a finished basement, but it was like a big open rec room. It was just usable. So for 5 years, we just used it as like a regular finished basement,
right?
Which made her happy. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's got that separate entrance. We could do this, and I had no money for it, but it was in the back of my mind, And then learning about refinancing and pulling out money, and then the moment I was like, okay, wait a minute. The bank's going to give me $70,000 from my house. Just give me $70,000 from my house.
Yeah.
I didn't have to work for that. I didn't have to do anything.
And that's where you put that right into the basement. Yeah. Renovating the basement.
And that's the difference too. Like, some people would have taken that and bought a new car or, bought a liability or something. Yeah. The fact that we took it, and increased our mortgage, right? Because you are increasing your mortgage payment when you take that money out. If you don't put it into something that's going to generate money, it could be,
got bigger payments.
Yeah, it could be harder, right? It could be trickier for you, right? So, I mean, that's why, the Rich Dad Poor Dad philosophy of, investing in assets and making sure that when you make money, to invest make money you just made into another asset. Don't buy a liability yet. Yeah. Don't buy a car or a boat, or a second primary home, because that's just another liability. And that book is the best for everyone to read for financial literacy, I think. And
isn't it I think it's like the #1 book, isn't it?
It's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be. It's like got a cult following behind it for good reason. Sure. And but I didn't read that book till later on. Like I mean
that's one of those things, like, why aren't we reading that? Why are we reading Shakespeare and Othello in school? Why aren't we reading?
I know.
It's funny. Well, we won't even get into that.
I was talking about that at lunch with someone today. I'm like, in high school, they don't ever say, like, do you want to get into sales? Yeah. Or do you want to be an entrepreneur? Yeah. Or why don't you go open your own restaurant? Like, nothing is ever talked about that in high school. Yeah. Nothing, right? Yeah. It's geography and history, and it's, I don't know. It's a little flawed, but I know that, I think, as I know that now, having a daughter now, it's like, okay, cool. I'm not going to rely on school to be the only source of education. I think that falls on the parents a little bit now to say, let's learn outside of school. I still think there's value in school, but
and I think, like, entrepreneurs and people that really have that growth mindset, they're seeing that other alternative to the school system and being a little bit more open to that. But that's a whole other conversation. So you had the one property, and then you basically moved out of that. You got another one.
Yep. So we live,
and then same idea. You got into another.
Yeah. Well, the market's gotten harder now and more challenging. So the property that we bought it with my wife's sister. So she owns 50% of it. She lives in a basement apartment. Okay. And we live in the upper unit. So we only own half of that house, me and my wife. So, I mean, we're still working on, one step at a time, not selling that property. The plan is not to sell this one either, right? So we'll probably be moving out of this one shortly, and then, if my wife's sister wants to stay or wants to move, she can. When she's ready to move out, she's, I've kind of obviously preached to her and said, hey, we're not selling this thing. So, don't even think about it. We're buying something, and she's on board with that. So, it's been educating her and saying, like, here's the play, move out whenever you want or stay as long as you want.
Yeah.
It's totally up to you. Whenever you're financially ready to go get your own place or, move in with a guy or whatever it is, you can. You have that freedom, but we're not selling this. This money is that you've invested for your down payment is gone. And we put 5% down again. It was more like the house was $575, so it was a bigger down payment, obviously. But yeah, it still wasn't easy to come up with that money, right? Like that $70,000 we took, we put it back in. So it's not like, it just happens, right? It takes time and savings and sacrifice. Now our mortgage payment's pretty expensive now too, but that's why we're co-living essentially with someone else, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping we're still 33, so if we can buy another house and do the same thing and just kind of slowly accumulate houses. My goal is never to have to sell a house until I'm ready to. Well, never even really, if my daughter can have them.
Yeah. What's your long-term goal with real estate investing?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't.
You don't have like a number in your head saying, like, I want to have 10 properties, or I want to get into an apartment building, or I want to get into commercial.
I'm learning about all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm weird that way. I don't really believe in goals or goal setting. I think it's. I don't know. People always want to set goals and expectations, where to me it's about, I actually like to look back and see what I've been doing and see if it works, and then keep growing and learning, and then see what opportunities come. You don't know what's going to happen in 5 years, or what options you're going to have available to you, or anything like that. So to me, it's one house at a time. Next we're focusing on our next move, which will be our next house, right? So my next house we're gonna buy is gonna be something a little bit more long term, because our daughter will be starting to get into school, and we want to be consistent with her. But I'm planning on buying something that has a second unit that we can Airbnb, because Airbnb is going to be changing their rules where you can only Airbnb for a certain number of days, and it has to be your primary residence.
Okay.
But if you have a primary residence that has an opportunity or a second suite, it'll be legal. Okay. And all the other Airbnbs are going to go away, right? They're all going to go to either tenants or be sold or be into long-term rentals. So even though we're still, and I've already told my wife, this is the next play kind of thing. So we're going to buy something that's probably a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer, a little bit more stable, where we if we do have a second kid or something like that we don't need to move again. We can be in there 10 years, like longer than we're planning on. We're only going to be in this house a year and a half. This next one will be a lot longer, but we'll still have an income potential or a way to, make money off it.
So what kind of home are we talking about? What is it? Like another bungalow? Or are we talking like
I don't know. I don't know. This is the tricky part, right? Because all I've said, my wife wants a pool, and I'm cool with a pool. So we've been looking at houses with pools with second kitchens.
Okay.
Any house that has a pool and a second kitchen.
Yeah.
So we can live upstairs. I mean, there's been a lot of 2-story ones, but these are getting in the $800,000-$900,000 price points, right? So
specific area? Are you looking
anywhere? Whippy, Oshawa, Clarington, somewhere still around here. Like, we still want to be in this area. So we have looked at some kind of rural properties, but
and does that bottom unit have to be legal?
Not really. No, not if it has to be separate for Airbnb, but it doesn't have to be legal. So it gives us more options too. The house is going to be bigger, right? It'll be a 3 or 4 bedroom house. Could be a 2-story house. But we're pretty specific at what we're looking for, so that's why I don't know when we'll see it or when we'll find it, but we'll jump on it. We're not even really ready to move right now, anyways. So. We're just keeping an eye out and planning that next move, and then from there we'll see. But then we'll own 1.5 properties, and now 2.5, including this other one, and we'll just kind of slowly start going up. But like I said, I've got another $100K out of that property, the first one, so that made me allow me to do some more traditional investing, where I'm putting 20% down and buying something more long term.
Yeah. And would you say like, is it like a formula like that once you get going, then it's just like snowball effect?
It's compound.
Yeah.
It's compounding using leverage. It's, you know, to me, the most effective. It's allowing your money to work for you while you're sleeping, and having an asset that is building and growing. And, you know, so I think it just, I think it just over time, you know, you don't see it right away, right? And that's where people struggle. You don't see the benefits of it. You just see struggle.
Right.
You just see like, oh, another mortgage payment, or oh, this and that. I mean, until you start getting, you know, profit. But even now, like once I pull out that 100,000, we'll lose that cash flow of that first one, which is fine. But it you know, will again be like, okay, we've gotten money out of it, but
because the mortgage goes up,
because we'll have to pay on that $100,000.
Right.
So it'll still cash flow, it'll still make money, but it won't make, you know, $1,600 a month. And we actually took it out in the form of a line of credit, a home equity line of credit. So if we want to use it, we can use it. If we don't, we don't. So, or if we borrow it, we can put it back. So, yeah.
And is that the route that you think like any person that already has a primary residence that is trying to get their first rental property do, is the home equity line of credit?
Yeah, it's one option. It just depends. I actually prefer just refinancing and if you can get an A lender, like pulling your money out with an A lender and then locking back up into like a 5-year term. This house, this still like, and this is funny because we've always gotten 5-year fixed term mortgages. And you're always like, oh, like, yeah, like 5 years, that's nothing. But like, this is twice now after about 2 or 3 years. We're like, damn it, the market's gone up. We have money sitting here. Let's use it.
Yeah.
But we're locked into this 5-year term.
Right.
And actually, the first time we broke it, we had to pay a penalty. We had to pay like a $3,000 or $4,000 penalty to break it because we were only at year 3.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not waiting another 2 years to you know, put this basement apartment in. We'd still be in that house today and probably doing it right about now instead of paying that $4,000 penalty. But when we locked into our second 5-year term, right, we did 5 years, and it was probably like our 6th or 7th year that we just, you know, we took the money out. We're like, okay, 5 years, that's nothing, you know. And then it just comes by so quickly, and that's what, going back to kind of the goal setting thing, like 5 years is an eternity. It is such a long time, you know. To know what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years is nuts to think, right? So to answer your question, with the home equity line of credit or refinancing, it really depends on what your current mortgage situation is. You know, if you're coming up on your refinance, explore your options. Like you could be able to access some money, lock into an A lender at a low rate, and, you know, get a check for, you know, who knows how much, depending on what you own and how long you've owned it and how much equity's in there, and allow you to invest and buy something else, right? So there is an opportunity out there for people that a lot of them don't know. They're just focused on paying down their mortgage, which is the wrong mindset to have, is the wrong thinking.
And then what do you think, like, out of your friends growing up, were like, and how you guys turned out? Is there anybody else that kind of followed your like footsteps into like real estate investing, or you find like you're the only one out of like your
not
group
really?
of friends
Most of my friends have kind of more stable jobs, and they, you know, just enjoy life and are more traditional in that way.
Do they look at like what you've done?
Oh yeah, they think I'm nuts. Like every time they're like, "What are you up to now?" kind of thing.
Yeah,
and, you know, and it's
they just see risk. They just see risk.
They see risk, but now that they see me making money, that they're going, "Oh wow, right?
Yeah.
Like, holy, you're making so much money in this." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." But
have you had anyone like reach out and like just, you know, be interested and be like, hey,
a couple
like, how
people.
do you do this? Or I'm thinking about getting in.
Yeah, I mean, one of my buddies, he actually did buy a house and is living in the basement. It was his first house, put 5% down. He lives in the basement. He rents out the upper for $1,700 a month. He has it's a legal 2-unit now. He converted it to, so he's the same way. So he's going to live in his basement, which I wish that's what me and my wife did originally. But
instead of the upper. Live in the basement?
Either or. No, I just mean like we bought a house to move into. I would have personally just moved in. I would move into a 4-plex.
Right. Yeah.
I would have bought a 4-plex and moved into 1 unit and rented out the other 3. But, you know, my wife said, you know, no, I want a nice house. I want a backyard, a garden, and this and that. And so for us, there was a bit of balance. It depends on who you are as a person and what kind of, you know, sacrifice you want to make, right? Because if you can go buy, a fourplex and figure that out, you're going to be way more ahead, but you got to live in a fourplex, which isn't always the nicest, and you're not going to have the best living experience. So,
and is that possible for someone like growing up Durham region area?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, especially if they're getting help with their parents for qualifying for a mortgage and stuff, and again, you can put little money down up to 4, like anything up to 4 is still residential, right?
Right.
Anything above.
So you just need that 5% down payment.
Yeah. And it's your primary residence, you're moving into it. And, even the first time home buyers incentive can be up to a fourplex, right? So even the government's saying, they'll lend you money to get into a fourplex to move into a house.
Yeah.
So there's opportunity out there. It's just, if you want to take that chance, or if you want to make that sacrifice.
Yeah, we just don't feel like we're just not educated at that time in our lives to know that. But then it's like, it's that classic, like if you were to go back in time and tell your, the younger version of yourself what to do.
But I don't, that's the
for
thing.
You, would it be that fourplex?
No, I knew it at the time. It's not that I didn't know that. Like I said, like for me, I don't like to me, the people who have made mistakes say that. Yeah. Right? Where to me, it's like, no, learn. Yeah. Don't make the mistakes. Like I hate the people that are out there educating, being like, I made all the mistakes in the world. Now listen to me. Yeah. It's like, okay, cool. You made mistakes. Now you're going to try to, you weren't smart enough to go educate yourself. Yeah. And think about it. It was more about, having that balance. Like I wanted my wife to be happy too, right? I wanted to be happy, right? Like even in a fourplex, I don't know if I would have been happy in a fourplex. That would have been like the ultimate sacrifice to get ahead and get financially free. But I still think, I'm not a total, let's not enjoy life and focus on wealth creation. I want to have a bit of a balance with it, right? So, but I can see some people, taking that fourplex route or triplex or something. But, I think it's a mistake to people that are just upgrading to a bigger house. Yeah. Right. Like they're, instead of when the market went up, when I refinanced and put a legal suite in, a lot of people sold and went to a bigger house. Right. Which, they said, okay, I now have equity in my house. I'm good. That's my retirement or that's my savings, where that equity is not safe. When the market shifts or changes or drops a little bit, that equity disappears, right? And if it disappears in my house that I'm cash flowing $1,500 a month on, I don't care as much as the person who only has that equity in their house. So
right. And would you say that someone's first home, do people look at that as real estate investing?
I don't think so.
Like, is that the mindset that you have? Is that first home?
I did, yeah.
That's a real estate investment move. Versus you think most people are just like,
I know, but I think people even upgrading their home, think they're investing in real estate. Yeah. Right? They think that when they buy a bigger home, that is a bigger, better asset. Right. They think I now have $1 million house. My mortgage, I have $300,000 in equity in this house. Yeah. I have $300,000. Yeah. That's their mindset. And then so when they first bought, if they had 5% down, so we put $12,000 down. We had created, or the market created, $100,000 in equity. We could have taken that and went and put that down on a $600,000 house, and we still have that $100,000. But it's just equity that could disappear, right? When the house, it's unrealized profit or revenue, right? Because you haven't sold it yet, right? And that's only one form of wealth creation. But to answer your question, I think the problem is most people think they're investing when they're not. Right, right. And they think they have an asset, when they don't. Yeah. It's a liability. And that's where Rich Dad Poor Dad is so powerful and controversial. A lot of people don't believe that. They say, no, your primary residence is an asset. Where that book says your primary residence is a liability. Yeah. And most people just have a tough time with that concept. But that is the biggest problem I see, even with my friends, is that their only asset, quote unquote, is their primary residence. Do you think it's just because of like how, we're being like marketed to? And it's like just commercialized that we always feel like we need to go bigger. That's the next move. That's the next evolution. I also don't think that there's no financial literacy classes. There's no one teaching this stuff. There's no one, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book is so good for that, because it's emphasizing how our brain has been trained differently to think through high school and through it's get a stable job, but get a house, pay down your mortgage. That's what they're teaching you. But, rich people don't think that way. And once you learn this other mindset, you're in a growth and rich mindset that is going to allow you to actually get out of what the rat race, which is what Robert Kiyosaki talks about in Rich Dad Poor Dad, is getting out of that rat race, which is that paying, living paycheck to paycheck as opposed to, having money work for you while you sleep.
Right. So, being like a real estate investor now yourself, do you see that as being the same as a landlord? Like isn't there like that kind of that mindset of, investor or landlord?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing when you buy a business. You could buy a business and be a money partner.
Yeah.
And not manage the business. Like the landlording part is just managing your business.
Right. That's how you see it.
Yeah, like you could buy it. You could buy something that's a good investment, but mismanage it.
Right.
Right. I think that's the issue with most businesses. Right. You could buy, a gym or a restaurant and mismanage it and be unsuccessful, or you can manage it properly and be successful. And it's no different in real estate investing. If you and commercial or multi-residential's a good example of that. Lenders want to know who the manager is before they even lend you the money, because they recognize that, if you have a professional, experienced property manager,
less risk.
They'll lend you more money.
Right.
Literally, if you have, a good property manager in place, and residential is the same. In a lot of my workshops, I'm helping people, to be good landlords. Not just investors, right? It's both of them, because most people are selling their properties just because they're tired of managing, or they're mismanaging, or they've run into issues that have stressed them out, and they can't handle that business side of it, right? So if you're managing your investments, your properties, then you just got to recognize that that's what you're doing. You are managing it, and you are working in your business at that time.
And what are some of the things that you think are like essential to properly managing your properties?
Like any business, you have to have systems, you have to have processes, you have to be, treat it like a business. When tenants don't pay on time, you have to issue the N4 on the second day a month. You have to issue the L1 on the 14 days after you've submitted the N4. You have to have those systems and processes, and kind of ignore the noise from your tenant, who is going to give you every excuse in the book why they're late, why the rent's not there. And you just have to be strict, have processes, and, checking up in your property, doing inspections, being proactive in your renovations and repairs, and budgeting for that stuff too, right? So from the financial side of it, making sure you have everything accounted for from a financial standpoint.
Right. And do you tell your tenants that you're the owner, you're the landlord?
Yeah, for my property, for sure, they know that I'm the owner and the landlord, right? So it's not an issue. I think with the tenants, you just have to be honest and set the expectation right from the start, right? So I think for me, making sure that they know how you run your business, that you are professional, here's what you're going to do, is important. So, when you first meet them, setting that expectation, like, here's how things are going to go. Are you okay with that? Do you want to still rent my place? If not, I'll find someone else, kind of thing, right? And you just have to make it very clear to them, where I feel like most landlords are scared, and they're kind of going, okay, like, just get someone in here. I just need someone.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're going to pay me. Okay, yeah, come on in, right? And they get spooked a little bit, thinking that their place is going to be vacant, so they don't do as much due diligence, and
then it comes and bites them in the ass.
Yeah,
later.
Exactly. Or you're not setting things straight, being like, look, if you don't do this, here's what's going to happen, kind of thing. They're afraid to have that conversation. Or even the rental increase. So your government allows you to increase the rent every single year. Next year's 2.2%.
Okay.
And you have to give 90 days notice, but if you haven't told your tenant from the start that you're going to be raising rents after the year, it's hard to raise them.
Right.
It's hard to just be like, well, thanks for paying on time. By the way, I'm going to raise your rents.
So do you put that in like an agreement?
It's just conversation.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, hey, look, you know, every year I raise the
Just
rents.
to set
Whatever
out
the
those
government sets
expectations.
out, you know, last year was 1.8%, this year's 2.2. So I'm going to be raising the rents. I'm going to give you 90 days notice. I have to give you this form. So, but you're telling them that, you know, 9 months before you're actually giving them the form.
Yeah.
So that when they get the form, and it makes it easier on the landlord to say, you know, cool, I know that they're expecting this form. So it's not that awkward conversation like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to be charging you more money.
Yeah.
You know, can you imagine even in your business if you were like, oh yeah, by the way, I charged this fee also.
Yeah.
And you hadn't set that up.
And I think that's the thing. It's like I think people are cool with paying the extra fee or the increase in price if they know about it.
Yeah.
It's the surprises.
Yeah. And that's it, right? And it's just a little management, you know, thing that you have to learn. But if you're not doing that, it can make your life harder, right? And this is going back to it being a business and being treating it like a business.
And that's your philosophy. That's how you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with every business you learn better. Like I'm not saying I'm the ultimate landlord or I'm the ultimate, you know, business owner. You have to keep learning. There's always, you know, people doing things out there that you can pick up. And that's why I'm always learning, because I'm saying, how can I do this better? How can I manage this better? And, you know, I find most people just don't do that. They just sell their property or sell their business or close it down. And they don't have that same drive or that same, you know, rush to keep learning or keep, you know, trying to improve. And
so how do you get tenants in the first place? Like your first place, you rented the basement and you're like, okay, cool, now I need someone to live here.
Yeah. I mean, the market,
how do you get a tenant in the first place?
So the market that we're in is pretty easy. You know, I'm putting it on Facebook Marketplace right now, and you'll get 100 to 150 messages. You know, our vacancy is so low that it's just a matter of
over the course of what time period?
A week.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to get a ton of
demand.
messages. You're in demand, right?
Yeah.
It's a low vacancy rate right now, so tons of people, you know, are looking for rentals. So you're putting up your ad on Marketplace, having nice pictures, having nice copy. You know, again, there's some landlords that maybe aren't getting 100 messages and maybe hear this or see this and go, wow, I'm not getting 100 messages. Well, do you have professional photos done? Do you have, you know, maybe this is the agent in me, but some people don't have that. And then, you know, they're not getting people interested in their place. So this is all kind of assumed, I guess. But from there, I have, you know, automated messages where if someone says, is this available or can I come see it? I already start screening right from the start. So I'll have a response back saying, yeah, it's available. Tell me a little bit about yourself before booking a showing. You know, where are you coming from? What do you do for work? How many people will be living here? You know, so you can weed out of those 150 people right away. You can weed out 80% of them if they're like, there's 8 of us. I have 4 dogs and, you know, no job, but I swear I'll pay on time kind of thing. You know, you're like, okay, sorry.
No thanks.
We went with someone else kind of thing. And, so, and then I typically will do like a group showing. So if 20 people say, okay, yeah, they seem interested, I'll say, okay, look, I'm showing the place Saturday from 1 to 2. Come on out, have a look. Let me know what you think. So you're only there for an hour. Of those 20 people, 10 won't even show up. You just have it like
kind of open house style?
Yep. Yeah. Because a lot of them won't even show up,
Smart.
right? They'll be like, I'm interested. Yeah. And a lot of people will spend time. They'll, you know, go, okay, I'll leave work early at 5 o'clock, and they get to their rental apartment and the person didn't show up. And it's like, okay, I'm wasting my time.
And that's the last thing that you want is scheduling 20 different appointments with, you know.
Totally, right? And then again, this landlords get frustrated at this and they're already like, oh, I'm just getting started here, and they're already feeling discouraged.
But it makes sense. I can already see like that's your process. Like, you just walked me through the process of doing that, right?
Yep.
So,
and other people have different processes. I'm not saying that's the best one. That's the one I've been using and kind of teaching people to use, but you know, there's other people who do, you know, different things, and I think they work also, but you have to have something. Right? You have to have something in place so that, you know, if I ever do want to hire someone to do this, I can.
Sure.
You know, and I'm a big believer in learning how to do something yourself so that you can pass it off. But I want to know that job first before just hiring a property manager, so that I can, if my property manager is having trouble, I'll say, well, what are you doing? How are you doing this? And, you know, I can kind of help them out or, you know, manage them a little bit. So,
Okay. So then you had that open house, 20 people show. How many people would actually be like qualified?
No. So 20 people would have said,
20 people would have said yes. Yeah.
They're on there. They're right in. I'll be there. And 10 would show up.
10 show up.
So 10 would show up. Of the 10, maybe 5, well, we'll say 8 people like it. 8 people go, yeah, cool, I'm in. You give them an application. Of those 8 people that you give the application, 3 will actually fill it out and return it to you.
Yeah.
And of those 3, you pick one person.
Okay. And what are some of, let's talk about, like, I guess more of is it red flags? Like, what do you look at, more warning signs first, more than, hey, I've got a good feeling about this person?
Yeah, I mean, it's even hearing that process, you can then see, like, the 3 people that responded back to you with a good enough message to invite you out, showed up to your place, right where they're when you're seeing them show up, you can get a feel for, how they dress, how they act. Are they shaking your hand? Are they, who's with them? Are they, it is like an interview, right?
Yeah.
And then the people that actually fill out the application and return it back to you, 9 times out of 10, those are the people that have the best jobs, that have credit, that have,
sure,
that know
it
that
should be no surprise, right?
Yeah, you know, and it's funny how it's not simple. Like, there's times when I've had to, wait, or do that multiple weeks or multiple screenings to find someone. But a lot of times people weed themselves out, right? Just by you asking the right questions. And if you're asking the question, they don't want to answer it because they have something they don't want to share.
Yeah, they're hiding something.
Right? When you say, Phil, okay, let me see your pictures of your dog. And they're like, okay, never mind. We're going to the next unit, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to show them the 2 pictures of 2 Rottweilers. So I'll pass on that, right? So, I mean, the standard stuff you're looking at, I kind of look at a few things. So, pets, kids, smoking, and income. Those 4 things.
So no pets for you?
No, not necessarily no pets. Even in my ads,
pets?
I actually say, pets welcomed because I want, not that they are welcomed, but everyone has pets nowadays. And if you say no pets, one, you can't deny someone. Well, I shouldn't say that. You can't kick them out for having a pet. But what a lot of tenants are doing is lying that they're having a pet, right? Because they've been turned down 7 times because of their dog. So now they're just lying to you. They say, no, I don't have a pet. And then 2 days later, they'll say, oh, I just got a dog, and you're going, great, now I can't get rid of it. Now I have a dog. I'd rather know going into it, do they have a small little dog or do they have 2 Rottweilers going into my basement apartment?
Yeah.
You just can then look at the dog. And the program I use, Neighborly, for screening, will actually get them to load up a picture, and they almost screen the pet too. So they'll tell you the pet, like, do they bark a lot? Do they chew on stuff? Do they pee? Do they, are they, it'll kind of tell you what kind of pet you're getting into your unit too.
Yeah.
Because, if it's a small cat or something, or a goldfish or, something like that, you're not going to say no pets, and then someone thinks that you're not going to accept them. So,
right.
I want to know the whole story kind of thing about, just what their situation is.
Makes sense. And what's the rules for smoking?
Yes, I don't like smokers because I think they're going to smoke eventually, right? To me, they can say they're going to smoke outside, but, minus 40 in a winter day.
Yeah.
So I'd rather, and same with kids, to be honest, I'd rather have pets. I'd rather have pets and income than smoker and kids. So I mean, a lot of times I'm having like nice 3-bedroom units and there's going to be kids there, but I'm looking for the young professional couple. If they have a pet and they don't smoke, I'm totally cool with that. They got the income and they got a pet. I mean, to me, of the 4, it's like impossible to get. It's impossible to get all 4 where they don't have kids, they don't have pets, they don't smoke, and they have good income.
Right.
That would be the perfect tenant.
Yeah.
But to me, you're going to have a mix of those 4, like some or all 4. They have no income, they have kids, smoke, and pets, right? That's obviously the worst tenant is going to have a tough time. But you're always going to get that combination. Be like, okay, they have a good income, but they smoke, and they have 2 kids, or they have good income, and 4 kids, and 2 dogs, but they don't smoke. So it's like, of those 4 things, which one are you okay with, and which one are you good with? And to me, pets, depending on the pet, and obviously the income's important because you want to get paid. A lot of people look at credit score. I look more at not necessarily the score. I look at their income relative to the debt that they have. So some people have good income and have high debts. Like people coming out of school right now, I have in my basement, he's like a med student. So he's got a big debt, but he's getting paid. He's getting like a paid internship, and he's got parents as a co-signer. So I'm like, his credit score is not good because he's young, but I'm like, no, he's paid on time. He's clean. He's great. So phenomenal tenants. So sometimes the credit score thing can be deceiving. Some people are like dead set on a certain number, and I'm like, I want to see the whole picture, right? And if you get like an Equifax credit score, you can see, okay, they have, car payment, this kind of credit card debt, this kind of personal loan they got, and are they paying those on time? I mean, everyone has debt nowadays too, right? So you have to kind of just assess each situation and see, if they're going to pay. So
and is there anything else that you're looking for? Maybe documents or anything? Like, do you have to get like references, letters from employers or anything like that?
You're definitely supposed to get an employment letter. You're supposed to call references. Most people don't. I'll be honest, I haven't always. I know people lie, right? Like I know, even past landlords, they're gonna either want that tenant out, so they're gonna lie to you. Maybe not always give you the best reference, or you're not gonna get a full picture from people. People don't like to talk negatively about other people. So I don't know. I don't rely on those so much. I kind of want to do and see my own stuff, and that's why I like speaking to them online, meeting with them. I mean, even the online thing, there's some people that don't like, I like getting my money through e-transfer, and I like them filling out my application on Neighborly, which you have to be a little bit tech savvy, I guess, to do that.
What is that, a website or is it like an app?
Yeah, it's both, and it's like it's free for landlords.
Okay.
They try to make money off tenant insurance, so they're kind of doing the screening for you.
Right.
But there's a lot of tenants that have trouble with it, so I want tenants who can fill that out, but also e-transfer money every month,
right?
Just to make life easier. But that's just my own personal thing. I don't think that's something everyone necessarily has to.
Yeah, you just set it out to say first of the month, send me an e-transfer, this amount to this email.
Yeah. And most people that are on their
phones,
find
like that's what most people are doing now. Just like,
I don't know. I think
e-transfer is a big thing.
Yeah, like the post-dated checks is still a big way people pay. But I don't know. I think even from a landlord, you can take a screenshot of the check and put it directly in your account now with most accounts too. But yeah, so I wouldn't be opposed to that. I like the e-transfer. But the other reason too is I charge my tenants utilities, right? So at the end of each month, I'll email them what their utility bill is. So it's going to be slightly different each month of what they're paying me because they're paying me their rent plus utilities.
Right.
So with post-dated checks, and that's why a lot of people they include utilities, which is to me the biggest mistake is including utilities.
To go like all in.
Yeah. But because they want the simplicity, the landlord does. So they'll collect $1,800 all in. Yeah. But then when they get a $300 water bill because your tenant's been showering or leaving the water on, washing their dishes all day or something, you know what I mean? It's just not a smart business practice, right? Like when you don't know your expenses for the month and they can fluctuate like that based off of your tenant, it's crazy to me.
So just remove that room.
Yeah, and I mean it's totally legal, and to charge even water, right? And a lot of people will do like rent plus hydro, but I do rent, hydro, heat, and water.
Cool. So then you just look at those at the end of the month and then calculate it and
send them an email and say, hey guys, it's also a good reminder for them. Sometimes people forget, and just say reminder, rent's due on the first of the month. Here's your total bill. Here's the breakdown. Takes 2 minutes to write it out. I have a spreadsheet.
Anybody question any of the utility bills?
No, and if they do, that's right. At first, I'd usually show it to them and be like, "Look, if you want to see them, they see the consistency, right?" If one is sometimes like I had one of my upper tenants who was a younger couple who were running an electric heater in the sunroom. That first house has a sunroom, and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna come over and just want to take a look at the place and say hi and stuff." And I came over and the windows were open, and this heater was running with the window open and I'm like, so just so you guys know, like I didn't want to tell you this through email, but your hydro bill is like $250 this month. And you knew I was coming over, and you have the windows open. They're like, "Oh, is that why it is?" And like they had no idea, right? They legit had no idea, and so I was like, yeah, that's, you may want to, you're paying it, you've agreed. And they paid, they were fine, but they legit had no, like they knew I was coming over.
So
you're
just trying to help them out so they can't, they don't keep
but
on
it was
doing
surprising
that
me. I was
month
like,
after month.
And they're just young. They've probably never, lived in a place or experienced anything. And I was like, guys, I'm cool if you want to keep doing this, but you're paying the bill, right?
Who would have thought windows open in the winter, running the indoor heater?
Yeah, and I was like, I'm like, they're not. They just legit didn't know, because I told them I had to give them 24 hours notice before coming in. So they could have easily shut that off and closed all the window and played dumb, but no, they were like, oh, okay, cool.
So you've got tenants upstairs and tenants downstairs. How do you do that? With the utilities, is it like a certain percentage?
Yeah, so 60% up, 40% down is what I do. Everybody
larger family above and more rooms.
It's a couple upstairs and a single guy downstairs. So I mean, it's 3 bedrooms up. So I know some people that do 50-50. They say, you know what, same heat. Yeah. But I have separate hydro meters on that property. So the tenants put the hydro in their name. So they pay that bill themselves, and I actually had it split about a year ago, so it was all together, and that's why I got that same heating bill. And so I that's why I went to go see it, because I made them pay more that month because they had their windows open and the heater on, right, and the basement was supposed to pay 40%. So that's when I had already wired it, but I got 2 meters and told the basement tenant, this will never happen again. You can put your hydro in your own name and you can kind of control it. Right. That one I find fluctuates the most. So it is helpful to have them separated. Not a necessity, but
you don't need it. You don't need to legalize.
You don't need it to legalize, but it definitely
makes it easier.
Makes it easier, more transparent. And I wish we could do 2 furnaces too. And, you can do 2 water. You can separate the water too. I had a client who recently just did that. I may think about doing that in the future too. I do know some people that are even renovating right now, putting 2 furnaces in. Right. If you're doing a renovation, to have complete separation. So there is ways to make it, completely separated. It's just a matter of if you want to do it.
If you want to put that money in, and
more things, 60-40
more things to break down, I guess.
60-40 seems to be reasonable. What'd you say?
Yeah, more things to break down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
More issues, more appliances to replace. So. Yeah.
So you mentioned dropping by to the property. You got to give them 24-hour notice. That's the.
Yep. Anytime you want to go into the property for whatever reason, you have to give them 24 hours notice. So
with your properties, do you have like a regular inspection that you say hey, I want to check in on the property every month, or
I have like a form where I kind of check things off, and I'm just kind of looking, but it's more about the presence of being there and letting them know that you do show up. The smoke detectors is the big one, right? So I test the smoke detectors and get them to initial that I tested it. So if there's ever a fire or issue, you can then say, not only is this illegal to a unit, but look, I did test it. Right. And the tenants, acknowledge that I did test it. So it's just again, part of your business practices to make sure. But even knowing, they're going to keep it in better shape, knowing that you're coming every 6 months to test it. Some people do it quarterly. I've been slacking with that. Maybe I'll up it to quarterly if I'm having issues, but I haven't really had any issues, so it's been pretty smooth. Yeah.
When you your whole philosophy and how you look at your rental properties as being like a business, do you see your tenants as customers?
Totally. Yeah, they are. And that's every Christmas we give them, like a bottle of wine and a gift card, something to say thank you. And even if there's friction throughout the year of them paying late and we're dropping off N4s, it's a part of it, right? So that's kind of the roller coaster of it, of, managing them and trying to keep them happy. And, the way the landlord tenant board is, you need happy tenants in there, or else they can do some serious damage to you. Once they're in, they have a lot of control and a lot of power. So you have to be firm and strict, but be generous at the same time, and show them that you care about them and that you are thinking about it. If they do have a request for repair, get on it. You have to do it right away, do it properly, and get it fixed, because again, they're paying for it. Right? It is a business. It's not just you're collecting money kind of thing, which I know some people have that view.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's like anything, right? Like if you show them that you care, they're going to care about your property and want to care about you. So it's just the, law of reciprocity, really.
Yep.
So, with like with those site visits and, like the Christmas thing, like what else do you believe like makes, like a healthy relationship between you and the tenants?
Yeah, just good communication, right? Yeah. Being clear. And
how often are you communicating with them?
Once a month, through email, right?
Yeah.
So unless there's an issue where I'm dropping off an N4 or something, but even then I'll drop it off and leave it in their mailbox, and then they'll usually communicate, sorry, I'm late, here's the money kind of thing. And I haven't had any serious issues yet where I'm going to evict tenants, but right. I'm sure that'll happen. I'm getting ready for that. I'm prepared for that. I understand that that's part of the business. So, I think just, setting the expectations, like I said, being clear from the start, following through with your actions, and sticking to your business plan, whatever that is. Like mine is a Christmas gift. Maybe it's a birthday gift. Maybe it's, I don't know. Some people can do it differently or have different,
Right. And what's that, you mentioned like, evicting someone, what's that process like? If you got someone that you want out, what does that look like? How do you get them out?
Yeah, it's tough. There's a number of different ways depending on what they're doing, right? There's a whole list of ways that, tenants could be disrupting the other tenant, or, smoking in your unit, or not paying on time, or not paying at all, or anything like that. And there's forms that you have to serve, you have to fill out properly, and in a timely manner. And then if that's an issue, then file with an L something, L1, L2, L form with the LTB to then go through the process of getting them evicted. But you'll get a hearing with an adjudicator, and then they will give you some type of answer, right? And a lot of times that answer or that solution is going to be decided with the tenant. So it is tricky to evict. You have to really be, even if they're not paying, the adjudicator could say, hey, we'll come up with a payment plan for you, or you have till this date. From there, it could be then contacting the sheriff to help literally physically escort them out. I've never had to do that, or never had a client had to do that, so I'm not too experienced with that. But I wouldn't look forward to that if that had to happen. So, but it could be months of not getting rent.
Really?
Right. It could be 4 or 5, 6 months.
So you have to be prepared. So
yeah, exactly.
Save some for a rainy day.
Yeah, and that's it. It's
or else you'd be bleeding.
Yeah, totally, right. And that's why the people that are not cash flowing and that are not saving for vacancies, not saving for maintenance, they could be in trouble, right? Yeah. So I mean, that's why people go to multifamily in that too, right? If you have the more units you have, the less risk or the less profit you're losing that month, because it's in duplex. One person doesn't pay, that's 50%.
Yeah.
Or if you have a 20 unit building and one person's not paying, it's a lot less damaging to your expenses.
Might just take more time to get to there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And there's people doing this with single detached homes too, right?
Yeah,
just renting it out.
That's why they're riskier,
is that
right?
Riskier?
Yeah, that's why they're considered riskier. Like, the bigger you go, the less risk there is as far as number of units.
Yeah.
But it's just harder to get into.
It'd be like controversial to like what your normal belief, your mindset, your belief would be. You think like the bigger I think most people, the bigger the property, the more risk it is. Any more money, you need to do that. Where you're saying the more doors, the less risk.
Yep. The less risk because of vacancy, but also because of operating costs, right? You have one roof, one furnace, one boiler, whatever heating system you have, for 20 doors, say, as opposed to, one furnace for every 2 doors. So 10 duplexes, you have 10 roofs, 10 furnaces, where if you own a 20 unit, you have one furnace, one roof. And if there's vacancy in, 2 of those units, you're at 50%. I guess if you look at it from a portfolio standpoint of 10 units versus 20, the vacancy isn't as bad, but from an operating cost perspective, that's why there's less risk.
Yeah.
More money to be made.
So
that's why all the REITs are in multifamily. REITs don't buy single family and rent them out.
Right. So these properties that you have, they're 2 bungalows.
Yep.
And would you say, like, is that formula like buy and hold? Like, are you just going to hold on to this for the rest of your life?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah.
Plan is never to sell. Pay them down eventually. I think at first I'm in kind of a growth phase, so I'm going to be leveraging myself higher, meaning I'm going to pull money out whenever I can to buy more properties. Mm-hmm. But at some point, I'll sell half of my properties or a portion of my properties to pay off the other ones.
Okay.
So then at that point, I'll have, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6
yours.
that are outright paid, and that if I'm collecting, say, $3,000 a month from each one,
$3,000 cash flow,
per property,
yeah.
And then I'm retired officially, right? So you're then much more conservative. You're not growing. You're not using leverage at that point.
Right.
Your returns would actually be lower.
Right.
But it's safer. It's safer, and when you're in that phase of your life, when you want to be retired and you have, 5 houses that are paid off that are able to be rented out, even if you have a vacancy,
that's when you're in vacation mode.
Exactly, right?
You're
so
just
if you're
collecting checks.
Yeah. In Europe, and one of your tenants doesn't pay, you're not totally screwed because you don't have a mortgage payment on that property. Where right now, when I'm working, if that happens, I have another way to keep that portfolio going, or keep that property viable.
And can someone like calculate that timeline to like go through that growth phase? Does that happen in 10 years where they have to accumulate 5 properties, and then after that, then they...
Yeah.
Like, can it be done like that or no?
There are people that do that. There are people that try to calculate it, but again, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in, like, that's going back to kind of the goal setting, which I know a lot of people like.
That's where everything just looks like a straight...
Yeah, and everything's in a perfect scenario, right? Yeah. Where that's why, like, you ask, and that's why I'm trying to answer truthfully. Like, I don't know when my next property will be. I don't know when the one after that will be. I don't know what the market's going to do. Maybe it's going to go up 7%. Maybe it's 5%. Maybe we're going to have a recession here.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, it's linear and it goes up and we have the perfect plan. But, to me, it's just unrealistic. It's just, not smart. Like I look at what I have now and how to improve what I have now, and then just taking my next step as far as I'll plan. And before taking that step, I'm educating myself. I'm saying, what other options are there? What can I do? Is this smarter? Should I move my money here? I mean, again, I'm trying not to make mistakes and be one of those people who learn from making mistakes. I think it's and that may happen, but I think it's in your best interest to try to avoid that.
Yeah, sure. Learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
Probably better.
Yeah.
Do you find that, like, right now where we're at in terms of time, like there's more people that know about real estate investing and more people that are wanting to get into it?
Yeah, see, I've thought about that. I'm wondering, is it just because I'm around those people more, or are more people actually interested?
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of it, so it's
like
hard.
Social media's got to help, where people are showing that they're doing it, and you're seeing people renovating on their house and they're going to show it, and there are other people showing that, hey, this is my 10th property, and they're boasting about it. And so there's probably just, is it out there more, or are people doing it more?
Or are we just following those people and consuming that content?
You don't know. That's the thing, right? With all these social media platforms and the algorithm and how it works, you're seeing more of the type of stuff that you are looking at.
You put yourself in that position, and so that's why I'm consuming that. I'm seeing that. I would like to think that more people are also seeing that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know. It's I definitely think it's becoming more aware, but to what degree, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. Do we have any stats like that in Durham region where you could figure out that there's more landlords in this certain area? If you take like Oshawa, for example, or Whitby, are there more tenants right now compared to 5 years ago or 10 years ago?
Yeah, I would say so, because there's more people converting legal 2 units because of the government allowed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Government came out with a bill saying, cities have to allow second suites. So now they do, or else cities wouldn't allow them, right? Most people don't want them in their neighborhoods, right? Most people don't want landlords.
And when did that happen?
When was that bill? I don't know. I don't know the exact date.
Like 10 years or 20 years?
Yeah. Like 10 years ago, yeah.
So, it's pretty recent.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to know the exact bill and the exact date.
Yeah.
Bill, I can't remember, but Yeah, they basically came out and said, yeah, you have to, each municipality has to allow second suites. Now, what they didn't do in that bill was give a timeline for each municipality. So certain municipalities still haven't came up with processes and rules to allow legal second suites. Peterborough just started allowing them in January.
Okay.
So there's like a big rush of people going to Peterborough to legalize right now.
Right.
Or in this past year, because they finally came out with an official process. Oshawa's had it for years, but
right.
I think someone told me Milton or Halton or somewhere on that west end. There's a city over there that hasn't done anything. They don't, and they're just kind of playing the bill never told us when we have to allow these second suites.
Right. And would that affect the market? Like, do you see the whole supply and demand because that bill just got passed in January? So everybody that are looking to become, landlords and invest in that area.
Yeah, more people are going, like Peterborough, for example, that now have a process in place.
It's got to be less competition than.
Well, it's harder to buy in Peterborough right now. Like it's shot the market up. Like there's lots of people going there to buy bungalows in Peterborough to legalize. So
right. Is there same sort of demand as Oshawa?
Yeah, well that was the thing. You could buy houses for $100,000 cheaper, but get the same rents in Peterborough. The issue was there's nobody selling their bungalows. They're legalized suites. So a lot of our strategy is buying something and then just refinancing. But in order to refinance, you need to have comparable properties in order for the appraiser to say, okay, yeah, your house is now worth $600. We'll give you a loan, for $480, and you can, make a profit essentially. Yeah. Where Peterborough, you're gonna have to wait a little bit. Anyone who legalized this year, if they were to refinance, appraisers aren't seeing $600,000 duplexes being sold in Peterborough, so they wouldn't be able to pull their money out quite yet. But they're first to market, so they're in that lowest phase now. The prices even have gone up. When I look at them in Peterborough, they're pretty comparable to Oshawa. So the people that got in $100,000 cheaper, they are still ahead, but they're just money stuck in there for a little bit longer.
Yeah. And why is Oshawa such a good place? Do you find like both of your bungalows are in Oshawa? Why is that a good place for investors?
Yeah, I mean, I'm maybe a little biased, but I've done research and I've looked into other markets. I've looked into investing in multiple cities around this area. To me, it's just the best mix of your price versus rent ratio and being close to Toronto. So Toronto's kind of the protection for jobs. Having I think still 30% of the population of Oshawa commutes to downtown Toronto for work. Never mind, the university and the healthcare with Lakeridge Health and the other sources of jobs that Oshawa's creating. So it has multiple ways for people to get work, which is ultimately what you need from your tenants. But it's cheap enough that you can actually cash flow, right? So Whitby, Ajax, Pickering, Scarborough. I love those cities too, if they could cash flow, if the numbers would work. But their rent isn't as high as it should be relative to how much more expensive the properties are.
Right.
So Oshawa has that perfect mix, and even Peterborough I like, but it's on its own out there, right? Like when GE closed down in Peterborough, like there was a big effect, because there's not people commuting from Peterborough to downtown Toronto. Or there's not 30% like there is in Oshawa, right? So maybe there's a couple crazy people that do it, but Oshawa has consistent people working downtown, getting good jobs, and bringing that income back to a city, and it has that stigma from GM and from that mentality. So the house prices are cheaper. And
would you say that if someone's looking to get like their first property, that they should get a property close to their primary residence? Like if they're getting their first rental property, that's going to be their second purchase. Should that second purchase be in close proximity to their first?
Yeah, I would. I think it makes sense to be close to it in case there's issues. I would more suggest people to pick one market and study and learn that market. Too many people are bouncing around markets trying to figure out what the next hot market is.
Yeah.
Where I'm focusing on getting a really good deal in a market.
Right.
You can always have there's good and bad purchases I see every day in Oshawa for investors. right? I posted one on my stories yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, of someone who's overpaid in 2017, and I had issues with parking and stuff. I'm like, that investor is not going to like Oshawa. They're not going to be talking good about Oshawa because they had a bad investing experience. So, but there's other people that have hit home runs in Oshawa and bought really good properties. So, I think with whatever market you pick, you need to make sure that you're honing in and knowing when a good deal comes up, you can jump on it. Going back to, should it be close to your primary residence? I think that helps. But if you're if you live in downtown Toronto, you can't. You have to go either to Oshawa or Hamilton or to Barrie or somewhere where there is a good market. So you're not really going to be able to invest in your backyard. I'm lucky that I grew up in Whitby and Oshawa, and I do feel like it is a good market to invest in. So, I'd rather take advantage of that. I think Hamilton's a great market to invest in too. If I was in the West End, that's probably where I would invest. But, I see them being very similar. So I'd rather, stay close to home.
Yeah. And for those people that are in like Toronto, and they invest out here, I guess they're going straight to like a property management company, right?
Not necessarily.
Do you think they're traveling out here to go?
But again, I told you, I contact my tenants once a month via email, right? I come out, I go to my property twice a year.
Yeah.
You could do that from Toronto.
Do you think that like first time investors, not stigma, but have that mindset that it's going to be very hands-on?
Yeah.
Or is it more so like
they might
it's as hands-on?
I think some people think the opposite. Some people don't think it's going to be completely hands-off. Yeah. So I don't know. There's different people. Everyone has a slightly different mindset, but I mean, there is initial hands-on work to be done when you're doing the tenant screening and you're coming out to screen the tenants and get them keys and get them set up. But once you have it going, it should be fairly hands-off, with communication monthly, but seeing them either 4 times a year or twice a year, depending on whatever business plan you have set up.
And like, what are some resources for some people that are thinking about getting into real estate investing?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously lots of good books out there, lots of YouTube content, lots of Instagram content. What I'm doing with the investment property workshops is designed to get people out seeing houses and learning and educating themselves. Like I said, I believe that people need to educate themselves before they're going to take action. The more education they have, the more comfort they will to buy a house. And I want them to buy an investment property. So that's kind of what my proposition is. But there are lots of other resources out there. I would just caution people to be careful about, there's a lot of books and a lot of seminars out there that are really high level that don't get into the nitty gritty. Even some of the stuff we've been talking about today, I think is great. More nitty gritty stuff, like how-to stuff, not just, yay, go invest in real estate and be a millionaire and rah, rah, rah. Like there's a lot of those out there that,
because it's probably what sells the book.
Yeah, exactly, right. And people they're like, yeah, I'm motivated to buy real estate, but now what do I buy? Where do I buy it? How do I do finances? How do I screen tenants?
You need the tactical.
You need the tactical. You need to find where people are teaching the tactical and see it, or partner up with someone, or there's ways to get yourself in the mix, so to speak. And that's what I would suggest for learning or getting comfortable, where the rah events are still fun and still cool to go to, but they're not teaching you anything. They may be talking about how they became wealthy or their story, but they're still not usually giving the nitty gritty details that you definitely want and need, so you don't make mistakes.
Yeah, are those some of the things that you talk about on your workshop?
Yeah, totally, and that's the beauty of it. Each workshop's unique. There's always experienced investors coming out. I'm always trying to encourage them to share and correct me if I'm wrong, or challenge any ideas or business methods that I'm teaching with my 60-40 split. I've had, or even rent. Sometimes I say, I'm charging $1,650 up and $1,425 down, and I'll have some investors be like, nah, you could get $1,700 for this, or and talk about what they're seeing and what they're doing. So being around like-minded people, I think getting yourself in those situations help, where you're seeing people do and take action, and it changes your circle, changes the content you're consuming, and hopefully gets you more comfortable to get yourself into a position to eventually buy asset.
Oh, that's great. And where can people find you?
Me, I'm on Instagram at Cam Cassidy is my handle there. Facebook, Cam Cassidy Real Estate, or I think it's Cameron Cassidy Real Estate. My website, camcassidy.com.
Yeah.
Are all great places to find me.
Cool. You certainly are a wealth of knowledge. Thanks a lot for having a chat.
No, thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.